You threatened my safety, bro.
Are you kidding me?
I should not be the fuck out of here.
Go ahead, go down.
He got off his bike and he kicked the crap out of me. And you can see he hit me in the back of my head. I went to the ground and covered myself.
They said that this was just a neighborhood dispute. It wasn't. In Brentwood, Tennessee, a man stepped in the path of celebrity actor Alan Ritchson, an actor who plays Jack Reacher, in front of children. And what followed wasn't chaos. It was quite predictable, because this same pattern has already escalated into national incidents left and right, criminal trials, and even in some cases, fatal outcomes. And here's some of the consequences that we look at. If you don't understand the moment a complaint turns into control, you won't see the danger until you're already inside it.
This is the Hill of Justice.
I'm Jerome Hill, former police officer and state investigator, and with me is retired Sheriff Victor Hill. Today, we're going to break down the pattern most people are still missing, and that's one of the red flags in this case that explains everything. The internet likes to call them Karens or Kens, and we just think that that's pretty much a distraction, because what we're really looking at is unauthorized enforcement behavior. We see this all the time as police officers, and it has some consequences. And for each and every one of them, someone either gets hurt, loses a job, and it becomes even much more distracting after that. A civilian sees something they don't like, they get involved, and instead of observing, they step in and they block all types of movement, and they try to control the situation without having any type of skill sets. And this is where, when you're trying to control this type of situation, the shift happens. And when that shift happens, the situation is no longer stable. So we're going to try to go ahead and break this down cleanly. And so in many instances, my brother and I are going to go ahead and explain some of the things that civilians insert themselves in doing, and it causes all types of problems. So you've seen this plenty of times in your career. Of course I have. Naturally. Each and every time, have you seen it go out in the way that you thought it was going to go?
Well, I'm torn on this, Jerome, because let me tell you this. There are things that's not worth getting involved, and then there are things worth getting involved. I think we know that good saying, evil prevails when good people do nothing. I'm not saying this was one of those situations, but I think what's happening, not just with civilians, but also with police officers, is that when people get involved when they shouldn't get involved, mm-hmm. and it becomes a big deal, then there are circumstances where people wish someone would have got involved, and they're reluctant because of how this stuff turns out. So, I don't, how do we solve the balance? Because there's some situations where they would have been best off observing and waiting until the cops get there. Then there are other situations where if you don't intervene, someone could get hurt and killed. But depending on who the prosecutor is, what the politics are, or whatever, you could well intervene and do a good deed and get charged. I think we saw a situation like that. Was that on the New York subway where someone intervened with something and then they were trying to charge him with murder? I'm trying to remember what case that was.
Yeah, it was. Right. And the guy had a mental health emergency, and he mistook him for being aggressive, which he was aggressive, and he hurt him and punched him and killed him.
Right,
and,
but the situation I'm talking
intent.
about, I don't know if that's the same one. There was a situation not too long ago where this person was actually attacking somebody, and the person stopped him. And I don't know if this is the same one or not, but there was a situation where someone was actually attacking someone and someone jumped in to help, and then it turned around on them. So, I'm not talking about, there's some situations, some guy just walking down the street and you think it's suspicious. Okay, follow him, get it on film, and wait till the cops get there. But now it's gotten so bad that the cops aren't doing anything. I literally just got a call from a patrolman that literally told me he saw a situation where a guy was really out there, and he hesitated and decided to keep driving because he said, if I get out and confront this guy and it goes wrong, I'm going to lose my job and I'm going to get prosecuted. So who knows what happened out there? I mean, this guy clearly had him worried, but now you got the cops even afraid to intervene, and they have the authority to do so, but they're afraid the situation is going to get turned around on them. And I've had a similar situation, as we all know. So I guess what my point is this. I'm not saying that this guy was justified, but, you know, you're damn if you do, damn if you don't. You know, we've all heard the situation about the woman screaming for help and people just keep walking. I don't want to get involved. And she ends up getting raped or something happened. Or somebody's like, okay, where's the men? Why didn't they do anything? Then they get involved and then it's turned around on them. You shouldn't have done that. And, you know, I think there was a good Samaritan clause out there. So it's gotten so gray because I guess the so-called Karens and Kens have messed it up for everybody else. But now it's to the point to where people don't want to help when they should help.
So let's go through a couple cases, and we're going to widen the lens a little bit. And we're going to start from the least amount of issues, non-physical, all the way to something that was a deadly encounter. And you might remember all of these cases. Do you remember Amy Cooper? This was the lady in Central Park. She was a white woman, and she gained all types of national attention because at that point in time, there was a gentleman, and he just asked her to go ahead and put a leash on her dog. He was a bird watcher, actually, happened to be black in Central Park. Well, what she did thereafter was she went and called the police and falsely accused him of threatening her life. She was subsequently fired. She was charged with filing a false report and later was dismissed, but that's another story. And this had sparked all types of outrage, especially had the racial overtones. No punches were thrown. It was not a physical fight of any side, but it was the same pattern we're talking about. And she escalated what she thought she had authority, calling police and reframing the situation as a threat.
You're not reframing, lying.
Right. Just lying. And turned that moment right back on her in a national incident, and she was pathetically embarrassed, as she should have been.
Well, see, that's what the problem is. Okay. You know, I always tell people, especially from personal experience, never underestimate the power of a lie. We know that the truth will set you free, and I just still believe that, and I believe that'll happen in the end. But a lie can do a whole lot of damage. So let's look at how rape cases have been handled traditionally. A lot of women have complained about how they were treated when they reported rape. And how that came to be, unfortunately, is there were so many women making false reports about being raped that this attitude started prevailing that, okay, we don't believe anybody. And I think, you know, when you're a rookie cop, I think we were all told when we were going to a rape call that, hey, 90% of these rape reports are bogus. Okay, the problem with that is, let's say that number's correct. Well, what about the 10% of the women who actually did get raped?
Right.
So now everybody's looking at them side eye or whatever because the liars make it bad for the people telling the truth. So that's why you have all of this distrust. And that's why I always say never underestimate the power of a lie. You can be convicted and sent to prison on a lie.
Right.
We've seen it happen. It's happened to me or whatever like that. And that's why I always felt that leaders, especially in law enforcement, I know I did. I was a stickler for it. And a lot of people hated it. But there are many people who, they didn't get fired for what they did. They got fired for lying about what they did. Because if they'll lie about that, they'll lie on a report or they'll lie on a testimony. And if you'll lie and give a false testimony against someone, you may plant something on somebody. So it's very, very serious. And it's a problem that prevails in the criminal justice system because we see prosecutors lying to grand juries to get indictments. We see prosecutors lying to juries, and then they don't call it what it is. It's a lie, but what they said was, who can tell the best story? Well, It shouldn't be a story. It should be the truth. So
Right.
now we get back to the situation you're talking about. You got a woman that outright lies to see if she can frame this guy.
Right. And they dropped charges on her. And so that was basically a case about something that was non-physical. But let's escalate it a little bit. Okay.
Okay.
Now, this case, you're pretty much familiar with. This happened in Sanford, Florida. And we're talking about Trayvon Martin and George Zimmerman. Okay. For those who don't know, we had a 17-year-old boy, high school student, who was walking down the street after getting Skittles and I guess some Arizona tea. And he was accosted by George Zimmerman. George Zimmerman called himself being part of a neighborhood watch volunteer or something like that. And he believed that this person looked suspicious. He confronted him after a 911 call, and they had told him to stand down until police got there. He took the initiative to go ahead and confront him. And thus, a confrontation, an altercation occurred. He could not take the young man, and he cost him his life. Where do you stand on that? I mean, this is a Ken.
Well, let me tell you this. I think that, okay, there's different laws in different states. There's some states that allow you to make citizens arrests, and it allows you to take citizen action. I believe that it is wise to only take action to prevent someone else from being injured or killed.
Mm-hmm.
I think everything else, observe until the police get there. And the sad part is, there are people who have tried to stop someone from getting injured and killed, and they end up getting charged.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it has just gotten so crazy because you got these weird prosecutors, and a lot of times people get prosecuted off of emotions. I tell the story often. I write about it. When I was sheriff, my deputy shot 3 unarmed white men. And my county is predominantly African American, but they shot 3 unarmed white men. No one said a word. Then one of my black deputies shoot an unarmed black man, and he gets indicted. Okay. Now, the charges were later dropped, but it was a whole lot of hell raising. We demand he's fired. We demand all kind of stuff like that. But, it turned out that somebody actually looked at the evidence this time, which is a miracle because most people, they don't care about the truth. They just care about the emotions. And fortunately, those charges were dropped. But he got indicted, arrested, and everything else. And so it was almost as if though we were saying, okay, if you shoot an unarmed black man, you got to go to jail because we got to please the emotions of the crowd and the narrative. But if you shoot an unarmed white man, we'll let it slide, or we're not worried about it. And that's not what it should be. If you do for one, you do for all. If you do for all, you shouldn't do for none. And that's where we're at now. And what we're seeing now is a lot of prosecutions where willful intent is out the door. No one's looking at willful intent. They're just looking at the emotions of the situation or the optics. And if the optics are bad, sometimes the optics are bad, but it doesn't mean that something was done wrong. Mm-hmm. So in this situation, I think with Zimmerman, I think that he would have been wise to observe and maybe use his camera and wait for the cops to get there. I think unless somebody's life is in danger, you need to be very, very cautious. But we've seen, and then let me tell you what else can happen. This also happened in my county. A man intervened to stop a woman from getting killed, and a man shot and killed him. So it's so much. You're risking your life. You could get killed. So that's why a lot of people don't want to do it, because the guy that they're trying to stop could do something. But then let's just say he killed that other guy. In this county, with the current DA we got, they would have well charged. I could well see her charged him with murder, and he was trying to save a woman's life. Because we got a DA that's charged coaches with murder for a track star collapsing on the field. Well, it was too hot, so that's murder. Now, good and well, willful intent is not covered there. Because I don't think they woke up that morning and say, let's kill a track star. Right, so it's gotten so gray and whatever. it's almost hard to tell people what to do now because they can do the right thing and they can follow the law. You can follow the law and still get indicted.
Sure.
And
sure.
willful intent is out the door.
Sure.
Ask me how I know. Yeah.
Sure. So the first case we had was non-contact. The second case, there was a confrontation on that. And so we're talking about the behaviors of these Kens and Karens that were escalating. And, you increase these probabilities of confrontation when you feel as though that you can go ahead and take control. But what generally happens is when you confront somebody, control is gone. It's anybody's ball game at that time.
So
and this is what's happened.
Let's bring up another case that's something that I think has gone completely over people's heads. And it just goes to show emotions. Okay, so we got another famous case here in Georgia. I think if I remember correctly, I think it's Ahmaud Arbery. Remember the young man that was walking through a neighborhood?
Mm-hmm.
So this guy calls the police and he starts filming with his phone. Well, these two other guys come out and kill him.
Correct.
Which nobody can justify that. But here's what has always bothered me about that case. The guy that called the police was on his phone and he was videotaping it. Mm-hmm. Then he goes out to the end of the street and he turns around and he's still videotaping. And by the time he turns around, he's way down the street. And you can see these two guys get out the car and kill this young man. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You do realize they charge him with murder and he's in jail too.
Yeah. So all three of them are in jail.
Right. And this guy was all the way down the street or whatever. And I mean, unless there was some type of evidence to show that he called them and say, hey, come outside and kill this guy.
Mm-hmm.
It's clear with those two. That's not even questionable. Right. How does this guy get a murder charge? Yeah. Now, he's doing what we're telling everyone they should do. Just film and stay away.
Mm.
These other two come and out and shoot the guy, which is just totally ridiculous. I don't see how that can be justified.
Yeah.
But how does he get locked up for murder too? Break that down to me.
I think that he was a part of how they did try to describe it was he was a part of that clique, and that he was instrumental in, although videotaping it, but keeping them in the sandbox, if you will. As in trying to go ahead and make sure that he would not run over to his side. Because remember that truck and the two were in the truck. I think it was a father and a son.
Right. But when you looked at the video, he's at the end of the street and he's turning around. And you can see these guys from a distance get out with a shotgun. He's not even nearby there. Mm-hmm. And you can and by the time he drives back up there, they've already shot him.
Yeah. And but here's the, I want to go ahead and start off by saying, if for people that don't know, what my brother is talking about is Ahmaud Arbery, the 25-year-old black man that was fatally shot back in February of 2020. He was jogging in the neighborhood, and these guys had assailed him because they believed that he was breaking into dwellings that weren't even lived in. I think that these dwellings were basically, pre-manufactured homes, and they weren't just done yet. So this was in Brunswick, right? Georgia.
Right, Brunswick, Georgia, correct.
So what basically the FBI and GBI is trying to say is that he created the conditions for false imprisonment. That, of course, Arbery, that he could not go ahead and freely leave the entire area.
The guy didn't get out the car. Get out the car. Let me tell you this, man. I totally agree that young man should not have been killed and that those two guys that killed him was wrong. But how do you charge a guy that never got out of his car and he's turning around and coming down the street and he's filming and see them get killed? And this is the point I'm trying to get to. Okay, you're damn if you do, damn if you don't. We're already saying don't get involved, don't confront people, because if you do, something like this can happen. The guy that doesn't confront him and films it and turns the film in gets the same punishment they got. And, and that's what the point I'm trying to make is about the willful intent. Prosecutors are supposed to look, and cops should be looking at willful intent when we make an arrest. did this person willfully intend to commit a crime? Willfully and knowingly. So did this man willfully and knowingly go out there to shoot him with a long gun? And there's nothing to show that. But when you got an emotional charged situation, and he didn't have the best attorney, because the attorney said some very offensive things that I think incited everybody else. But I mean, it's just common sense. If I was handling that case, I would have locked both those guys up for murder. I wouldn't have locked up the guy that never got out of his car for murder.
Mm-hmm.
He would have definitely been a witness to prove the case of murder. Maybe there were some other appropriate charges for him. But the point I'm trying to make is this. The people who come and lie, not just the Karens and the Kens, but even when you got prosecutors lying to get convictions, you got cops lying to make a case, has made it so bad that when people should do something, they don't want to do anything.
Mm.
And I think this situation here probably makes people even reluctant to be an observer.
Mm. Mm. I think that the FBI is trying to say that before what you saw in that video was he was jogging and going through the neighborhood, and they gave chase to him before that happened. And so if the chase happened,
where's the chase at? It's not on video. Let me tell you, there's one video you can't find, and I saw a video when he first started filming, and he didn't get out the car then.
mm-hmm.
He goes down the street and turns around. These guys pull up and jump out like they're cowboys or something, and then it happens. He didn't actively participate in the murder.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing in that video to show that he had a willful intent for that to happen.
That's correct. It didn't appear that way. But if all three were chasing him,
where's the chase? Where's the video at?
That doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Okay, that don't mean it did happen. I mean, everybody says they want proof. How you gonna build a case on something you have no proof of? The guy was filming before they got there. I saw a video when he first started filming and calling, and he ends up passing and turning around. And then when he turns around, these guys have killed him.
Right.
I'm not saying that he can't be charged with something, but murder?
You know, you don't play those stupid games. You won't get those type of prizes.
Okay, Jerome, how many times have you and I, when we were young, went out with some friends and they went and did some stupid stuff that we had no idea they were going to do?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. And that wasn't our intent, and we didn't know they were going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Would it have been fair for us to go to jail because they're our friends and they got out and did some dumb stuff?
No, I get it. I'm not disputing that. I just, if the FBI is correct and GBI is correct that they were cornered, he was cornered, then everybody's taking that charge.
Okay, how can he corner him if he's all the way down the street and he's filming? You can clearly see when they kill this guy that he's driving towards them. So how did he corner him for them to kill him then? It's clear there on the video.
So it doesn't have to be active. If it was in the commission of the crime, for example, if they were both down the street and they were both chasing them with their trucks, okay, and one went ahead of the other one.
There was never any video to show that.
But what there
was never any video to show that. And This is the point I'm trying to make. Mm-hmm. Okay, we're on this show.
We have to have video before we could go ahead and make that charge.
We're on this show saying that do not confront these people, be an observer, film.
Mm-hmm.
This dude did that. The other two did what we say they shouldn't do.
Right.
And he's serving a life sentence plus 35 years or something like that. And the point I'm trying to make is we have created such a web with the Kens and the Karens. They made it bad by lying. Just like I think I get a scenario where you get a woman, she's a victim of rape legitimately, but 9 women have come in and made up some stuff before her so they could get someone in trouble or so they could get out of a cheating situation. And now this poor woman is being looked at sideways and she's a legitimate victim. So the liars make it bad for everybody.
Right.
Then when you
Right.
got a situation, you and I are advising people, hey, listen, don't do that. Be an observer. Call. Wait. Which is what this did. But his friends were stupid. And that's why it puts people in a predicament where, okay, well, if I get involved, I see what can happen. If I stay back and watch, something still can happen, especially if someone else does something stupid.
Yeah.
And that's what happens when you got people in the criminal justice system that don't use common sense.
Right. And I think that we're getting to the larger part where this stuff happens when civilians fully step into enforcement roles. And they believe that they were justified. These guys believe that. And they were, but I guess they believed that they were protecting their community, no matter how perverted that was. But they created the encounter. All of them created the encounter, and they controlled the escalation too.
How does a guy that never get out his car create the encounter? I agree. If you jump out of a car with a gun and then the guy grabs the gun and y'all start fighting over it, you created it because you confronted him with a gun. Okay, how does a guy that never got out of his car create that?
Well, I'm just saying
that's an emotional prosecution. That's something that let's make the emotional crowd happy.
Well, if you're looking at it that way, sure, but you can't go ahead and be in tandem with someone trying to go ahead and stop an individual and strive to impede.
He never tried to stop him. They did. They stopped him.
I understand that, but that doesn't mean that if these two did stop them and they were part of that party, that you're not going to get that charge either. You're going to get charged.
Where was his willful intent? Did he tell them to do that? I'm not saying
willful intent. There is no willful intent if you are the getaway driver and you did and you were had.
That's a wrong charge too. If you know if you are knowingly getaway driver, of course you should be charged. You're the getaway driver. They go in and they rob the bank and they kill someone. You agreed ahead of time that I'm going to take you to do a bank robbery. That's willing and knowing.
But I said if you got had, let's say if they didn't know.
But if you got had and we can prove you got had, if there are witnesses or situations to show this guy didn't even know what they were doing. Some guys say, hey, can you give us a ride to the teller? Then they start putting on masks or whatever, and then he's in a bad situation like that. If you got proof of that, why would you as a cop or why would you as a DA, why would you indict a person knowing that information?
Okay, so let me pose this question to you. So if I can remember this correctly, none of these guys were charged right away.
I'm not talking about when they were charged. I'm talking about the fact that he was charged for something that doesn't have willful intent. Those other two guys, we see it murder all day long. That dude never got out his car. Okay. And that's what I'm trying to say. People now, we're telling them, hey, don't engage, just film. But hey, you cannot engage and just film and still get messed up. And that's why people are like, they'll watch someone get raped and say, let me get the hell out of here. Because if I film, I might get charged too. If I get involved and kill the person, then they're going to charge me with murder. If I get involved and get killed, you can't win because we got so many prosecutors and cops that don't use common sense. And that's where this thing comes up. No good deed will go unpunished.
Right. So if I'm going to tie in all these cases together, right? We had all different type of people. You know, we had some of them that had the same behavior. Some of them escalated this to the path that we were talking about. And it increasingly, and we talked about how this increasingly came up into severe consequences for, all the way to, the bird watcher who was just telling, the lady, hey, guess what? I just wanted you to put a leash on the dog, all the way to Ahmaud Arbery. And, we take a look at these red flags and they all had a chance to disengage and they didn't.
The third guy never engaged. The other two shouldn't engage.
He was part of a chase that caused the death of someone else.
Where was the chase?
How did you not see a chase? Was he not driving and got the film of that?
That's not a chase. If I'm driving down the street and I take out
they chased this individual because they did not want him to get away because they were doing a citizen's arrest.
Those two guys chased him. They jumped out and confronted him. The other guy never got out of his car.
Okay, so the guy was on the phone with 911.
Right. He never got out the car.
Okay, so he's on phone with 911 and
He
taping.
did what we're telling everyone to do. Don't engage. Call 911. Use your phone. The things we tell people, hey, especially if you run across a bad cop, just film. Don't engage. Don't resist, whatever. That's what he did.
Then why did he cover up for them?
How did he cover up when he gave the video?
He gave the video to the police, right?
Right.
Right. Did he say that his homeboys were wrong?
Okay, if he gave the video to the police,
Uh-huh.
did he say they were right? Or he gave them the video what happened?
He gave them the video, and guess what? Talking about DAs, you're right about this. That DA was a piece of crap, and that DA did not go ahead and prosecute because they were covering up for the gentleman.
Exactly. And then all of this stuff happens. So then when they bring in, I think, some people from Cobb County, they're like, okay, we're going to prosecute everybody for the same thing. And that's what I'm saying. The common sense has gone out the window. Okay. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. We're telling people, don't engage, stay in your car, use your phone. He did that.
Right.
Well, he shouldn't have been there. Well, it was a chase.
Right.
Where did he chase anybody?
I know you need the video. I mean, I think that we could take deductive reasoning and say that he was part of the problem. He wasn't part of the solution.
But he wasn't a part of murder. We could say all day he shouldn't have been there. We could say all day he could have stayed home. That's fine. But he didn't kill that guy. Those other two did.
Right.
He didn't even get out the car.
But I think that our argument brings this.
When we start throwing charges on people because, hey, well, you shouldn't have been there.
Right. And I think that this debate brings on to more or less of what we're discussing about with the emotional spikes. Before even physical contact even happens, people miss a moment. And, especially you miss a moment and then you're no longer managing that situation anymore. You have to react to it. And part and parcel, if I was to be fair and say, hey, guess what? To go on your theory, let's go ahead and take a look at it. Guess what? Now he's reacting to this. And it speaks a little bit more to your...
The other two
We're talking about the guy who's filming. Yeah.
The guys who's filming. So, Jerome, you come and you're filming and you're in a car. And I'm your brother. And you're filming. You never get out the car. Then I jump out the car and I go and confront the guy and kill him. You should go to jail for murder.
No, I mean, I had nothing to do with that. Right.
Okay. So the point I'm trying to make is this. It's clearly murder of those other two guys.
Right.
Okay. But when you enter a situation, remember I talked about earlier.
But if I helped you corner this guy, if I was helping you corner this guy.
How did you help me corner him when you're just driving and filming? And I said,
I'm giving you a GBI and what the FBI did. They put him on the scene as cornering this guy.
They put him on the scene, Jerome. They put me on the scene as torturing somebody, and it's clear on video I never touched anybody.
Right, I get you on that.
Right, that's the point I'm trying to make.
Right.
Never touched anybody. And yet you got on the news, he tortured them, they urinated, and it never happened.
Right.
There's no decontamination reports, there's nothing. And then the guy goes to court and says, they know, well, he didn't do anything to him. Well, two guys in a mask came in and roughed me up after he left. So who is the two guys? Why weren't they indicted? This is the type of line I'm
I agree with you on that. Yeah.
Right. So what I'm saying is, we have put people in a predicament. I agree with you about the Kens and the Karens. People get out there like George Zimmerman. He shouldn't have approached it. He shouldn't have made contact with the guy. And even if you don't make contact, even if you do it, everybody says you should do. Even if you follow a policy and the policy clearly says you can do something, these folks can make charges against you anyway. So what we've created is a society where there are a lot of people where they see people about to kill, they see about to get killed, about to get raped, and they're like, let me just drive and act like I'm not seeing nothing at all. Because if I get involved, they can turn this into aggravated assault against me. If we got lunatic district attorneys like we got in this case and like we got in Clayton County, if I film it, hey, you were there, so you helped corner it or whatever like that. there's no uniformity. One case is handled this way, another case is handled this way, and it's based on emotions. And that's when we get to the cops. Like the cop I told you about that saw a dude running crazy in the street, and then he stopped and he thought about it. He was in an unmarked car, so nobody really couldn't say he passed by. And he's like, hey, and he said, hey, let me get the hell out of here. Because if I get out and confront this guy and it turns into a fight or whatever, this can be turned around on me because of the type of district attorney we got here or because of the politics. That's just a crazy guy, right? And he was trying to get the guy off the street so the guy don't do something to anybody else, but it gets turned around on him.
Yeah.
And until that
there's
problem
instances
is
like
solved,
that. You're right.
Exactly.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. I think you're right. And so, here's the question that people need to sit with. How many people, think they're maintaining order when they're actually creating all types of chaos and danger? And
how many people are trying to keep order, and then it gets turned around on them, and then nobody wants to do anything, and then you end up with a chaotic situation. Right. A great example is Clayton County or the Clayton County Jail.
Right. So we're talking about people who are reacting to it. So it brings me back to Alan Ritchson, who police had ruled that he was using self-defense. Of course, what the individual did was he's riding on a bike with two other kids. I don't know if they're related. And he's riding in his neighborhood or in a neighborhood. And I guess it was a noise complaint. The neighbor was irritated. He goes out into the middle of the street. I don't know why he would go ahead and try to impede the free flow of vehicular traffic with his body, but he does that and pushes him. And naturally, he loses some control of the bike. And I guess he pushes him again in an engagement. And, of course, Alan roughs him up. And appropriately so. And so his narrative, obviously, the neighbor's narrative was that, he approached him, he got assaulted, and that, you should feel bad for him about that. But there was more to the story because guess what? There was more tape that was seen a little later on.
Right.
And so, here we are once again, these Kens and Karens feeling entitled to go ahead and enforce something they have no business doing. And you find yourself in a pickle afterwards. So the police did come back to Alan Richardson and said, hey, we are in a position that we could charge him if you want to. We could charge him. And he declined, naturally. And the case is now closed. But
let me tell you, I don't see any justification in this system, in this situation. I tell you what bothers me about it, though, is this. It's such a great area. He definitely should not have stood in the way of this motorcycle. He shouldn't have made physical contact with him. So the question is, let's just say, and there are some extremely loud motorcycles, and let's say he was really making a lot of noise. Okay, of course, the advice we're going to give is don't say anything, just call the police. Then there's also the school level. Why call the police? Why don't you just go talk to him and say, hey, listen, it's a little bit loud. Okay. And no one can give an exact answer on that. It used to be that any adult, because these are two men, so this doesn't count, but if some kids are doing something obnoxious, it was a time when any adult could say something to them and go let the parents know, and the parents would be like, I know Mr. Such and Such didn't have to talk to you. Now is, what are you doing? You're not my parents. And then someone come out, that's my child. What are you doing? It is completely gone to the left. No pun intended. And, and now it's chaos and disorder. Now, I'm not saying that Mr. Smith has the right to body slam the kid, but I mean, I can remember a neighbor snatching me and taking me home to my mom. And I wasn't talking about, hey, you're not my daddy. I was terrified what was going to happen when I got there. That's exactly what happened. Because the look was, why did Mr. Such and Such bringing you home? So, we got a weird situation. I think these Ken and Karen situations are obviously stupid, and they could have done something different. But it's to the point now where you really can't talk to anybody. You can't. He could have approached him, and I'm not saying that the actor would have done this, but I could say he could have went to someone else and say, "Hey, listen, it's kind of loud. Can you work with me?" And that could have turned to a confrontation. It could have been F you. I'll ride my motorcycle any way you want.
Sure.
So then it should have been, well, why did you call the police? It's a gray area that no one knows how to solve. But the sad part is the cops and the prosecutors should have enough common sense to know what willful intent is, which fortunately these cops did. Yeah. Because they could have easily turned it around on the actor.
Right.
They could have easily turned it on him, and he would have been like what a guy did. Well, we don't care what he did. You don't, because we've seen them do it. And they've done it with me. They completely block the evidence of what happened up to the time and make it sound like it started right there, and don't want anyone to present what led up to that.
Yeah.
And as long as we got a system like that, we're going to have more and more people that's just, when someone should intervene, they're going to keep moving, and that person's going to get raped, robbed, or murdered. Or the cops are going to do like the cop I talked about. Hey, I need my job. I'm just going to ride on out of here and let this thing go. Yeah. Because it's not worth it how this can get turned around on me.
Yeah. We're going to land the plane now. Certainly, we wanted to go ahead and thank each and every one of you. Our last episode, many of you commented and liked and watched and so on. Please continue to engage with us. You are definitely bringing up good questions, good points, and certainly that volley of information is very good. Some of you are very well in tune with the law, and a lot of you are either amateur sleuths, semi-professional, professional in your stead. So congratulations to you. Like, subscribe, certainly go ahead and hit the notification bell. And brother, you brought it again today, so I appreciate that.
Oh, thank you, brother.
All right, we'll talk to you later.
All right.
Safe.